We're here in Encinitas, California with Robbie Richman. Thanks for having me here.
Pleasure.
You know, one question I have, so you're doing a lot of work. You're speaking with executives, giving big presentations, starting companies. It seems like things that typically would be done in a city like LA or New York. What brings you to Encinitas? I mean, it's an incredible city, and I feel the energy here. But like, what brings you here?
Yeah, it's actually the XPill brought me here in a lot of ways. I knew about this area because my family and I would vacation a lot here when I was growing up. So I love the area. The beaches are so clean and warm. And then what happened was I was about to sign on a house in LA, and I wasn't sure about it. So I took the XPill to know about the right housing for me. And I saw a vision of a house near the beach with a blue umbrella, and I thought this makes no sense because LA beach houses are these 8-figure things I can't afford, and it made no sense. So I went to live to Austin for a bit, came to house sit for a friend in the San Diego Encinitas area, and I met a realtor just walking in an open house, and he and I just went looking around at houses. I thought, why not? And it was crazy because he was showing me stuff that was really not good for a lot of money. But I went on the app, Redfin, and I saw this house that looked amazing with a pool and a mile from the beach. And I said, can we go here? And he said, yeah, we know the realtor. And we would go over there, and I get this immediate feeling of peace. And then later, I see the blue umbrella in the yard, and I go,
Oh, wow.
this is my house.
Yeah.
And I said, do whatever you got to do to close the deal. And I got this house.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And you're right by the beach. You kind of have it seems like a very chill
So
place
chill
to
here.
be.
Yeah, especially since I travel a lot, I wanted to have a home base that's really chill.
Okay. So does that kind of help you stay clear and creative? And one thing I noticed living in big cities, it's kind of easy to get distracted and kind of overwhelmed with things. So like, I don't know, do you have any personal kind of tactics for staying in the zone?
Oh yeah, I'm working on a whole productivity course called the 48-hour day that
Oh, wow.
involves things like, I mean, I've got all kinds of things I use. One of the main ones is Kanban, which is a
What's
process of, it's a board, I could show you, it's upstairs. I've got a huge 10-foot whiteboard, and I've got this Kanban board, which you take stickies and go from to do, doing, done, or pending, and you move things over piece by piece. Because I love analog. I think a lot's gotten lost. The pill is analog. And you move these cards over until you're all done with them. So that's one of the things I use to focus. And I agree, big cities can definitely be very distracting. What's interesting living in this place, in this town, is that it's me who's distracting. Like, there aren't those external things.
What do you mean?
Well, all the ideas in my head, all the craziness here. You know, because there aren't so many external distractions, I realize, oh, this up here in my head is where it starts. And so it's sometimes going to be challenging to rein me in.
So you really have to kind of drill down on what's going on inside your body. You got to get clear on what's good, what's not, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, like really work on. I mean, that's a lot of work that I think a lot of people kind of push off to the side and don't deal with.
Well, the two things, I learned this from a guy named Dave Buck, who's head of an amazing coaching school. And he said all change happens, 95% of change happens in the body and the environment. And so what I've done for myself is I'm now working out of this really cool incubator space. And that's how helps me focus. Body-wise, I'm doing soccer, hot yoga, surfing, cycling, like really getting in the body. Yeah, I find these two things are absolutely key for me. Otherwise, I really start to lose it.
Really?
Yeah.
So you get really heady and just like up in the clouds.
Yeah, I'm living in this house alone. Like all my ideas start going, and then you've got Netflix here. Like I can go a little crazy.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm not making myself look good so far at the podcast.
Hey, we're all crazy. I think if you're not crazy, you're crazy. And if you're not weird, you're like capital W weird.
That's true. The quiet ones you got to worry about, right?
Yeah. You're putting it all out there on the line. You're on Instagram.
Yeah.
You're giving speeches. You have videos all over the place.
Totally.
And they're all kind of inspiring. I was watching your videos. And kind of the general gist that I got of you was that, and you state it on your website, but it's that you're a culture hacker. Can you break that down for me? What is culture hacking?
Sure. So culture is a network like any other network. Think of Facebook as a social network, but it really goes back to computer networks. And when you think about computer networks, is with systems theory, one of the principles of systems theory is that the purpose of a system is not its design, but its use. So the system is really running itself in a lot of ways. You can design something, but the system really determines how it's used. And so computer networks are a system, social networks are a system, and culture itself is a system, the way it's all a set of relationships. And a lot of what's going on is in between people. And the way that hackers work is they don't actually really design systems, they hack current systems. And what I found is that the way you hack a system is you look for vulnerabilities, like a hacker does. So what I do with corporate, for example, is I look for vulnerabilities. One example of a cultural vulnerability in a corporation is the interview. For a new recruit, you could get somebody, it's a vulnerable place. You can get somebody amazing, or you can get somebody who could destroy the company.
Yeah.
So how you hack that interview is how you hack the culture. So it's these kind of vulnerable moments that I look for in culture to hack it.
And when you say hack the interview, do you mean like optimizing it,
Yeah.
getting the most out of that interaction? Is that
you look for things where people can work the system. So for example, Zappos, where I came out of, it's really hiring for customer service. The trick is to go beyond their experience, but see, do they actually enjoy being of service? So you ask a question like, tell me about a time that you helped somebody out when you didn't have to. And then you find out, do people actually really enjoy being of service?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. So you're diving into the heart of people then, in these conversations, in these interviews, in culture, kind of.
Just to find out what makes them tick, not to judge, but to say, look, if you like this, you'll like it here. If you don't like this, you're just not going to like it here. So it's more about alignment than judgment.
Interesting. What do you mean by alignment?
Alignment means what you believe, what you think, and you say are all the same thing. And that the people in the corporation all feel that, and that we are aligned in our values. So we're just checking for alignment. Do you like this? Because if you are, great. And if not, we're not going to get along so well. And so do we have values that are in alignment with each other? Then we're going to get along great. If not, it's going to be bad for everybody.
Interesting. So I feel like a lot of people kind of deal with this personal struggle of understanding that, of getting in alignment.
Yeah.
Right? Of knowing like, who am I? What are my values? What do I stand for? Where do I want to go with my life?
Yeah.
And it seems like what you're doing with the XPill is kind of helping people with that. Would you say that's sort of the case?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about invitations. If you think about it, there's just tons of invitations that you deal with, and sometimes you create invitations for others, like you did for me with this podcast. And then I check with myself, is that in alignment with my goals and my values and what I want to be doing with my time? And John DeMartini is a guy who's got a really great values test because it's based on real data rather than what you think you value. So, for example, how do you spend your money? How do you spend your time? What do you spend your time thinking and obsessing about? Who do you admire? What kind of YouTube videos do you watch? What are your heroes? What do they study? Okay. You look deep into these things and you start to see where you're actually valuing your time, your energy, and your money. And that's where you can see what you truly value. And then when you have something like the XPill that puts you on an invitation that says, hey, if you could have a pill for anything, what would it be? It suddenly makes you think. And there's an actual opportunity to opt in and take this pill. And suddenly when you've thought about writing a book or running a marathon or getting a new job, it's one thing to think about it. But when you think about a pill, is you're going to be on the other side of that. And you can't go back. You can't just walk backwards. You're already on the other side of that commitment, of that intention. So it's an invitation that puts you on a decision to make about your life where you start to seriously question your own values and intentions.
Wow. That's like exciting and a little scary.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, be careful what you wish for, be careful what you ask for. It brings back past decisions that you may have made that didn't work out so well. And you think, well, I used to think I wanted that. What if this is the same thing for this? What if I don't want this a year from now? And it makes you think about those things.
So for you, like, how did you get to this point where you started making the XPill? Like, because I'm sure you kind of had to deal with this sort of personal kind of work, right? Of understanding like what you want to create. And it's a big move to start a company like this. So I'm curious, like, can you bring me back like how this all came about?
Yeah, it all came about just by watching Matrix and saying, what if the red pill were real? And I took red tic-tacs out to Burning Man. There's the whole video's online. It's pretty fun. of going there and giving it to people like it's the red pill, and people really getting into that thought experiment of what is reality and what am I waking up to. But the real breakthrough came for me in the viability of the idea when a psychologist called me afterward and asked me for these pill bottles that had red tic-tacs at the time, because she said her patients were getting breakthroughs. And so that's when I knew that it was onto something. And that's when I started to then experiment with vitamins, and then eventually got my own pills made that are just inert pills. I don't call them placebos because placebos have a lot of baggage to them. They're very generic in general. This has a whole story. This has lots of interesting people who've done it. It's kind of become its own thing. I call it an inert pill. But that's the lineage of it is through the Matrix. And the Matrix is all about waking up to reality. And what I find with this XPill is that it's like a truth pill, in the sense that if you're in alignment with the goal, I've seen things happen for people really, really quickly. Mm-hmm. If not, I've seen the opposite effect happen for people in a way where they see what's in the way. Like the time I took it from ready for the one, that great relationship, and I had a relationship that showed me how not ready I was. So it's, again, it comes back to that alignment. Okay. Are you in alignment with the intention that you're taking a pill for?
Yeah, and you're going to get whatever you need is what
seems to happen. Yeah. And it for me, it questions what reality is, because, interesting, weird things happen as a result of this. Because it's one thing when it's in your own head and you get suddenly motivated to write a book. It's another thing where you take it for something and things outside of your own body and mind start happening. And that's where, I have awe and reverence for this, because I don't entirely know how reality works.
That's what we're all trying to figure out, right?
I think it's a fool's errand in a lot of ways. I mean, more and more I've been taking it for just surrendering and letting go, as opposed to programming everything. When I do challenge myself. I challenged myself recently to get an investor for XPill, and taking it for that at a live event where the audience challenged me. And a lot of times, though, I take it for simply letting go and surrendering, because this idea that we have control, this idea that we even know what reality is I don't know about that.
Yeah. So do you take it every day?
Most days, not every day.
Okay.
I take it a lot of days, and to me, it's, some people take it once and have a huge breakthrough. Others take it multiple times a day. Mm-hmm. It truly varies.
It's interesting. You bring up this idea of control, and I think a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs working in the business world, we want to go out there, we want to hustle, we want to start that company, we want to make those connections.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of force. Yeah. I feel going into those interactions and situations, but this seems like sort of the flip side, right? Where instead of going out there and pushing your way through situations, it's instead taking a step back, setting an intention, and almost letting things unfold more organically. Is that kind of what this,
they're two very different schools of thought, and both work with this. People have taken it to write a book, and they say, come, hell or high water, to use the expression, I'm getting this done. And in that sense, it is kind of a push. It's a commitment. It's getting through your blocks and resistance. Other times, it's things that are out of your control, such as love life, right? Where okay, this is something I might not even be able to force. And so people surrender certain things. So I think it's two different uses of the same pill. After doing this hundreds of times with people, I found that there's two uses for it. One is you're clear. You are clear. I am writing that book. I am whatever that is. And you take it for that because you're clear. And that's where I think pushing works. The Gary V, grind, all that kind of talk. I think that works when you're really clear. If you're not, you can just be hitting your head against the wall or running yourself into the ground or getting massive adrenal fatigue for no reason. So when you're clear, I think that the push doesn't even feel like a push, because you just know you're going to do it. Whereas the other is if you're not clear, or you're open to something potentially even bigger, that's where the surrenders come in.
So this is almost the first step in a way. It's like a launch pad of sorts.
Yeah.
You want to do big things, but first you got to get clear on what it is that you do actually want.
Right, and that's where the cards that you have there in the XPill kit come in. That's why I designed those. Also something called the Decider document that's online at xpill.com. That's all these prompts that I use to help me make decisions. So for example, one of them is if I'm considering launching a venture, the first question I ask is, if I know this will fail, not if this might fail, but if I know this will fail, is it still worth it? Because if it is, it's fantastic because you know you're in it for the journey. Like when I went to work at Zappos, I said, even if I know you will tell me in 3 years I will massively fail, I'm still going to go do this because I want to work with these people. I want to have this experience. So that's the first test. The second test is if it passes that first one, you say, if I know that this will be 3 to 5 times the amount of work I think it will be, is it still worth it? And then it means you really actually enjoy the work. So those are 2 questions in the decider document that I have that I use to help make decisions.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's you bring up a really interesting point, is that sometimes it's not even about like that thing that you're going after, right? Like maybe it's about growth or experiences or just learning something.
I mean, I think that's actually the punchline to the whole joke. I mean, it's always the journey. Because if it's not, you get there and you get depressed at the end. Like, oh, this is what I was working so hard for. And you hear those stories of people who achieved fame and fortune. And they say, man, it wasn't what I thought it was. And all of us are going, are you kidding? You have millions of dollars. You can definitely make yourself happy for that. But if the whole journey was just to get you there and you didn't enjoy the journey, then could be a massive drop off at the end of that.
Yeah. Before we dive into the XPill, can you share like the biggest up and the biggest down of your journey?
Ooh. Wow. Already choking on that one. All right, what do you want first? I guess let's go low first.
Okay.
The low point, I would say, is definitely going beyond broke in a business. I went about 60 grand in debt. Realized, wow, like zero is not the lowest. Like you can go below zero. And to me, I didn't declare bankruptcy. I really wanted to pay people back and just be in integrity with deals that I'd made. But it was a massive low for me. Launching a business, really pushing hard on it, and running myself into the ground, my health into the ground. And at the end of that, just being like, I think one of the biggest realizations is that, for me, is the rock bottom is where you define it. Because you can go lower, or in this book, Profit First, I was reading, you could be scraped across the floor of rock bottom for a while, where you're just scraped around it, rather than just going straight up.
Yeah.
So it's really about defining that rock bottom. And so for me, that was pretty low.
Interesting. You know, it's a point that I think might be relevant for a lot of people, this idea of like financial freedom.
Yeah.
Right. You always hear like, oh, if you get the money, if you're able to go traveling, like these things will bring you freedom and happiness. But that almost seems like it's not the case. Like there's something that comes before the money, that comes before, these successes, that, like you say, kind of define, I don't know what that journey might be. So coming back up from the low,
the high was right after, because it was a transition point where I went with my feelings, and my feelings said the only thing I know I enjoy in all this depression right now is going to spin class, and I want to be a spin instructor. And back then, before the Soul Cycle days, there was no money in that. I mean, zero, like ridiculously low. So it made no economic sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I started training as a spin instructor. I loved it. I got a consulting client, and this fed my energy. And I had this amazing relationship with Dave Logan and the authors of Tribal Leadership. Got that book to Zappos. Tony loved it. Started our relationship there. And led to what was one of my highest points, which was leading Zappos Insights at Zappos.com and creating this new business. I became an intrapreneur at Zappos, and building a team from scratch, building a business from scratch. To me, it was the ultimate experience because it had a lot of the joy and fun of starting a business, and yet the backing of a big brand and a big company, and I had legal support. The finance department was running helping me run the books for it, and it was by no means guaranteed success. Tony literally said to me, "You gotta do this on your own. Where if you want a website, you gotta build it. You want customers, you gotta find them. Like we weren't allowed to use the Zappos customer base to start this business of training other companies on culture, because he wanted to keep it under the radar until it was successful.
I see.
So it was by no means just granted success, but it was this ultimate support from an incredible company with all the risk of the entrepreneurship. Well, not all the risk, but all the adrenaline rush and high of that. And we built an amazing company that's still going today.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a neat balance.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure an incredible experience.
Yeah. So fun.
Before getting into that, actually I have two questions.
Yeah.
One, why spin? Yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah, spin because it's a combination of three things I love. One is working out on a bike. I love bikes. Two is it's being a DJ. You get to mix great music together. And three, it's being a coach. You get to inspire people. So those three things together, working out, great music, inspiring people, I loved all those together.
Man, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And did you have any experience in culture building before getting into Zappos? What? I
had bad experience. I ran a magazine in college, and I think they would have called me a bad manager, an inspiring leader, but a bad manager. I'd get pissed about it. I'd be Steve Jobs level pissed without the Steve Jobs level genius to go with it.
Oh man.
So I had experiences like that, but this was really about my passion for it because Tony told me about his idea for it, and I just sent him idea after idea after idea about how to launch it. And he said, "You want to come do this?" I said, "Yeah." And it took a series of proposals and meetings, and it was by no means just an easy done deal. But that it really surprised me how much trust they put in me for something that I had never done before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Zappos is known for having the best company culture in the world.
Yeah. And my role was to figure out how to package that and sell it.
So what you were selling corporate training for other companies to kind of build culture into their businesses.
Right.
So is there a tie-in between building culture for companies and what you're doing now with the XPill? How did that sort of transition?
It's a good question. I've been looking to get it more into corporate, and I've done it with some organizations. In a way, they're different and the same. The culture is very much team and company and division, and XPill is a very individual thing. But you can do it in a team and bond. So that's one connection, is that when I've seen people on a team take the XPill together, there are tears.
Really?
Yeah. And sometimes you can even take it on the same goal. We as a team are going to take this pill for that same goal together. Okay. So in that sense, it relates. I haven't been able yet to cross that bridge because right now the culture work is definitely very team company oriented, and the XPill is definitely very individual. And I think the next stage for that is talking to MLM companies, sales companies, where it's individual success is very important. But I really do want to make the bridge to I really want to go into a sports team and have them all take this. I got actually at this event, somebody wants me to talk to the coach at Harvard's crew team and another for a UCLA team. And I love that. That really gets me going because that we can actually see demonstrable results after it. And even, somebody took it once for a triathlon and improved his time by 30 minutes. And it's him attributing it to this pill in this process. But what I love about it too is that everybody who does it, they don't say, "Oh my God, the X pill changed my life." They say that, but they know it's themselves because there's nothing in the pill. They get to take credit too, and that's what I love about it. Is this isn't caffeine. This isn't a drug that's suddenly powering you. It's a bridge to your own subconscious powers. So people who take it, they own the results. They say that I did that, and I'm glad. I'm really glad about that.
That's really fascinating. I mean, it shows the power of the mind, right? To both hold us back, and also propel us forward.
Totally.
Would you call it a placebo?
I call it an inert pill.
Okay.
And there's no such thing as a placebo effect. There's a placebo response. The pills have no effect. It's a misnomer. But places like the Institute of Placebo Studies at Harvard, they're using the term response because it's everything around it. It's the ritual, it's the people, it's the stories. They have to prompt people with all this information to the point where they literally did a test with I think it was morphine, but it was a pain reliever pill, no placebos. And with one group, they'd say, "Here, take this pill." With the other, they said, "We've got this new pain pill. It's great. It works for a lot of people, etc." They go into the story behind it and they prep people for it. Yeah. Exact same pill, active pain reliever pill. And the one that got the context had greater pain relief than the people who just took the pill.
Wow. That's insane. So it's more than just the chemical makeup. It's like
Definitely.
I mean, would you consider that the experience that
Oh yeah,
comes with
it's
it?
the people. That's why when they do placebo tests, they're not
Mm,
sending out to people in their homes. They're doing it at a place where it's designed for healing. You've got people there. You've got doctors. You've got a room. Like
mm,
all this beyond the pill itself.
yeah.
So that's a lot of what's going on is everything surrounding the pill.
Mm. Could you walk me through? I think in your book you talk about the pill, the people, and the process. I know we're gonna try this out, and I think you want me to take the pill.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Before we do that, can you walk me through those three components?
Yeah, those are the general philosophical components of it. It's that who's witnessing it, who's with you when you're doing it. The pill is obviously the XPill, and the process is called the activation. And the activation, it used to take hours. Now it takes 10 minutes because I saw pattern recognition and I saw how to keep people really connected with their emotions and their body and their words. And so it's a process of aligning those things. What's going on in the body? The body is very intelligent. It shows the resistance, it shows the excitement. So first we really tap into the body. The visualization, what do you see happening? Is that visualization in alignment with your intention? I've seen people start to get to the visualization and say, oh my God, I don't even want this. And the most important rule about XPill, which is going to apply to you today as well, is that you don't have to take it. So the requirement that I gave you for this is essentially the activation. But you'll see at the end and during that it's up to you. There will be no pressure from me or anyone else to take it. But at the end of that process, you may have a different insight. You might take it for something different. You might say, wow, I realize I've got a lot to think about. I don't want to take it. You could, there's all kinds of things that can happen. But to me, this is where it relates to culture. Is one of the most powerful concepts in culture is the idea of opt-in, not forcing anybody to do anything. I learned that a lot at Zappos, where we would pay people to quit during training to say, hey, don't feel forced to be here because you need the money. Here's the money. Get something you really like to do instead when they're going through the training after they pass through recruiting. So to me, opt-in is absolutely key to the process.
Okay. So I do want to take the pill. I'm opting in to do this.
Yeah, and you'll see there's a few opt-in points, and by the end, before you take it, we'll just check: do you really want to take it? So that you're owning the choice. Because otherwise, I found if I don't do that, you're like, man, I don't want to disappoint Robbie. I don't want to disappoint my fans, my podcast listeners, all those pressures. And if you do that, that's where regret can come in. Oh man, why did I do? I didn't even want to do that, but I felt pressured. That's the last thing I want to happen. So by doing these checks in the process, we make sure it's in alignment for you and honoring you, no matter what me or your listeners think.
Cool. Okay. Should we do it?
It's up to you.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Great.
I'm really excited.
Great. So the way this works is it's about a 10-minute process.
Okay.
And I'm going to guide you through it. You'll see I'll be asking questions, but you'll notice through it that you're in charge. Okay. And you're in the ultimate charge whether you take it or not. And the only thing to keep in mind is keep eye contact or close your eyes if you want to be in touch with your feelings. And I may interrupt you at times just to guide you through this process because we're really going to be focusing directly. So if I see you, for example, looking off into the backyard and talking about a story, that's essentially you being hypnotized. You're in that other world. I'm like, no. You and I are here in a moment together. Yeah. And it's kind of the way people say, look me in the eye and tell me the truth, right? This is where the truth is. Okay. When you're looking all around, you're in a fantasy world. So I might bring you back and I might get you back on point. Okay. Any questions before we start?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No.
Great. So just get settled and breathe in.
A little sip of water.
Okay. And how are you feeling in your body right now?
In my body?
Keep in mind. Here we go.
No, that's right.
Or close your eyes, either way. And it's all right. It happens to a lot of people. So you're doing great.
In my body, I feel good. I feel some pressure in my head.
Okay. So what I want you to do is breathe into the pressure in your head. Don't try to change it. Just be with the pressure in your head. There you go. Simply be with it, and you can close your eyes anytime. Without trying to change it, just being with it. Great. And notice, does it increase, decrease, shift, or stay the same?
It's decreased a little bit.
Great. So breathe into the decrease. Good. And notice anything else going on, any other sensations you're feeling in your body.
I feel slight kind of pressure or kind of movement in my below my heart area.
Great. So be with that. Breathe into that pressure, that feeling below your heart area. You don't need to change it. All you're doing is breathing and being with it. And whatever happens with it is totally okay. And simply breathe into it, be with it, and notice. Is it increasing, decreasing, shifting, or staying the same?
It's kind of just the same.
Okay.
But my head is like the thing that I think, that
is feeling what the sensation is.
It's a little uncomfortable.
Well, what's the sensation? To see if you can describe the physical sensation.
The physical sensation in my head is just some pressure.
Okay, great. So keep breathing into the pressure. And what I want you to do as you breathe and be with it is ask if that pressure has any message for you. And does anything come to mind?
Yes.
What's the pressure?
Being present. Like completely in the here, in the now.
And is that a challenge for you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So breathe into that pressure to be in the here and the now. Great. Now, what's your intention for this? And for those listening, I'm holding up a pill.
Yeah. In a very beautiful glass. A vial.
Yes.
My intention for the pill is... Ooh, this is emotional.
Yeah, it's okay.
This is very emotional. It's to build a studio space.
Got it. And what would the studio space give you? Keep here.
It would help connect people.
How would the studio space connect people?
It would be a combination of studio recording space and space for people to gather.
Great. And what feeling does that generate in you? Recording, creative, people gathering. What feeling does that bring up in you?
Like it's exactly what I want to be doing.
And what's the feeling?
I feel right now like I want to cry almost. It's kind of just like an outpouring.
Great. Great. So breathe into that feeling. Breathe into the feeling like you could cry, and it's okay if you do. Breathe into the outpouring and just feel that for a moment. Yeah. And let's say you take this pill for this, for creating this studio. What do we see happen in the movie of your life? This is your pill scene, like in The Matrix, you take it. What do we see happening in the movie of your life after that?
Many different things. Many different things. I see in this movie people coming to this space.
Well, keep in mind, this is a movie, right?
Yeah.
So you just took the pill.
Yeah.
What happens?
Right now.
Yeah. What happens tomorrow? What happens next week? What happens? Because in the movie, you don't suddenly. If we see you suddenly in a studio, we're like, "What the heck? How does he have a studio right now?" That's not a movie. A movie, stuff happens. So what happens in your movie?
What happens in the movie? In the movie, everything that I'm doing right now just ramps up 100 times.
Okay.
I just am doing more of what I'm doing right now.
Great. So see if you can really think like a movie director. Because a movie director never sees in the script, he ramped up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, are you up till 3 a.m. recording episodes? Are you out networking and talking to cool guests? Are you signing a lease on a place? Are you building it with your hands? These are movie scenes.
Yeah.
Ramping up is not a movie scene.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens next in this movie, literally tonight, I'm hosting the first event that will become this space.
So tonight, is there an event tonight?
There is an event tonight.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we see this event.
Yeah.
We see this space. What else?
The event's happening. People are coming together. The concept that's behind the space is getting refined. I start getting feedback from people around what they enjoyed, what they found valuable.
Great.
That I start putting that together with other people that have shared visions to create this space. And the idea, the story, the brand behind it, all the logistics of what the experience is like in this space for people starts to get worked on.
Great.
So
Great. Then what?
Eye contact. After that, well, in the meantime, conversations are still being had via the podcast. Connections are being made.
Great. Keep going.
Things are being learned and pieced together.
Yeah.
The concept for this space is kind of building up and getting fleshed out.
Great.
Once that concept's fleshed out, it's taken to, I mean, it might need an investor. A space needs to be found.
So keep in mind, the screenwriter doesn't say a space needs to be found.
Yeah, the space is found.
Well, no. The screenwriter says Charlie goes and sees spaces.
Yeah, Charlie goes and sees spaces.
Great. See how that's very different?
It is. Yeah.
This is writing.
It's more empowering.
Right.
Charlie goes and sees spaces. Charlie finds investors.
Yes.
Charlie keeps putting out the messages.
Yes.
That are promoting and building out the concept behind the space.
Yes.
Charlie starts literally physically purchasing and buying stuff that goes in the space. And starts building this space and finding other people that can build this space with Charlie.
And when is this all done?
Ooh, that's a big one. Can I walk you through like my thought process? No.
When's it done? When do you want this by?
Yeah.
You're writing your movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I, I want this done um, in 1 year.
Do you want this done,
Uh-huh.
or will you do it in a year? Because I think you want it no matter whether
Yeah.
you take the pill or not. You wanted it since the moment you came in. So we're not going to put want into the pill. You already got want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want it done by, or it will be done by when?
This is big. This is really big.
And this
I
is why
feel this kind of like it's a lot to put it out there and to state it.
And that's why you don't have to take this.
Uh-huh.
But what we do is, this is why it's this 10-minute process, is because we're coming up to the threshold. The threshold of, because clarity is clear. And if you're not, you can do it another time. You know, and this is to say, okay, if you're that clear, you want a studio.
Yeah.
Right? Like what are you putting into this pill? What is it that you are programming in your life, in your mind, in your movie? And that's why we're coming to this part where we've activated. You are activated.
Yeah.
And the question is, do you want to take it? You don't have to. Because you can say, I'm going to go home and write a whole business plan.
Yeah.
And you could even take the pill for writing the business plan rather than the studio date by. Sometimes I've seen people literally take it for just writing an invoice when they were too scared to write an invoice. So it doesn't have to be the big plan. It could be committing to whatever you want at this event. It's whatever you're clear on. And if you're not clear, you can step away.
Interesting. So it's almost like, this is just bringing me to that place of clarity.
Exactly.
It's not like forcing me into something.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
So now it's your choice.
Yeah.
You definitely see how you've gained something through this process regardless, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the thing I found with clarity is that it doesn't take a lot of explaining. And if your clarity is simply now you understand all the things you're unclear on and need to get clear on, that's a form of clarity. You just walked through a whole vision that you hadn't had access to completely till now.
Yeah.
And you used empowering words to program yourself rather than I want.
Yeah.
I do this, and that, right? So there's already a shift in you. That's why I say you are activated. And now the question is, do you want to take the pill? And you don't have to.
Yeah.
So what's your decision?
My decision, I want to take the pill.
What do you want to take it for?
That's the question. And
what are you clear on right now?
There's a few. The clearest thing I'm on right now, right here. I'm most clear on building this podcast.
Okay.
On making it the best possible podcast it could possibly be.
How would you know it's the best possible podcast it could be?
So I want to have a certain amount. I want to have 60 podcast episodes by the end of the year. I want to interview a couple different people. I want a studio space to be in.
So I'm going to ask you one final time.
Yeah.
Because the door is going to close.
Yeah.
For this moment. What do you want to do?
I want to take the pill.
For what?
In 1 year, I want to build a studio space.
You want to?
In 1 year, I will build a studio space for this podcast and for other people to be in.
How does that feel?
Intimidating.
Sure you want to do it? Well, I'm going to call it and say no then. Because if you won't make the decision, I will.
Yeah.
Because that's why I hold the pill. It's because
No, I'm doing it. I'm taking this pill. For that in a year, I will build this studio for this podcast and for other people to come together and connect.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, open up your hand. Now, this is what we call the pre-flight check. So you're going to say the words, by taking this XPill, and say the words and see how it feels.
Yeah. By taking this pill, in 1 year, I will build a studio for this podcast and for other people to come into the space and connect.
How does that feel?
It feels great.
Great. So hold the water in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to say it again. Own every word.
Yeah.
Feel it. And then take it and then let yourself feel it as it goes down. If I notice something off or you switch back to an old wording, I'll stop you. But otherwise, I'm going to simply witness you.
Yeah.
And just be a witness to your taking it.
Yeah.
So you'll say, by taking this XPill,
Mm-hmm. By taking this XPill, in 1 year, I will build a studio space for this podcast and for other people to come and connect in the space.
Great. Now let yourself feel it. Let whatever emerges emerge and let yourself feel it. How do you feel?
Feel ready?
Good. What else do you feel?
Excited, challenged, clear, emotional, kind of amped up.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
So notice in the next, especially 24 to 48 hours, any new thoughts, ideas, invitations, opportunities.
Yeah.
If you have the desire to rest. If you have desire to suddenly eat a burger, eat the burger. Like go with whatever is coming up. It's working on the subconscious mind, and you'll keep this as a reminder of what you've done and what you've taken, and remember you're writing your movie right now.
Yeah.
And it's no longer about want. It's about a writer writes actions.
This is really powerful.
Glad you feel that way.
Yeah. How long did we do that for?
It's a good question. It probably went probably 15, maybe went 15 minutes. Sometimes it goes a little beyond. You were a little tricky one at the end there. I had to actually literally threaten you that I'm not letting you do this for you to get clear. And sometimes that's what it takes. Because I want somebody to say, no, give me that freaking pill. And then I'm like, okay, because if you're that clear, I'll give it to you. If you're not clear, I'm going to take it away from you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's a testament to your ability to kind of facilitate this.
Thank you.
Too. I mean, that's a critical sort of piece, I feel like.
Yeah. That's why I'm training people now how to do that process. It took me 6 years to figure out that process.
Wow.
Yeah. It's got an elegant simplicity to it. There are steps to it. There's actually about 13 different steps in there to it that I know by heart, but now I'm training people how to do that with other people so that they can do it as coaches or for their teams and businesses, that kind of thing.
Interesting. That's fascinating. How do people go through this course? Is it online? Is it
we're doing it virtually, and I'm recording. So right now we've got a live training group, but eventually I'm going to take those recordings and make it something that anybody can do at any time. But right now we've got a live cadre going through it.
Okay. Wow. Would you, so we talked about this a little bit earlier, it's like kind of, with the pill even, it's almost like a medicine man sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like straight out of like Native American shamanistic practices.
Yeah.
For the modern age.
Exactly. Modern metaphor.
Wow. My mind right now is like kind of blown, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Some people describe it, you might be having this sensation, some people describe it as though they had almost a TV going on in their head, like a lot of different sounds and voices. And after they take the pill, it's almost like the volume was shut off, and everything is just a lot more quiet and clear.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like showtime.
Yeah, yeah.
Or game time, or whatever it is. Yeah.
And that could be a cool trigger word for you, showtime, and maybe you even wake up saying that, like, or maybe right before you do work on the podcast, showtime.
It's showtime.
Right before you go look at a space, showtime.
So what's the power of that? Like, do you see people doing that in their, like, if they're an entrepreneur, or if they're whatever it is, giving a public presentation, like, is this a tactic that people tend to use out there in the work world? Kind of like these trigger words, or
absolutely. One of the big ones now is alter egos, like by the book called Alter Ego by Todd Herman, who talks about how Kobe's the Black Mamba, like he's that Mamba snake, and that's his alter ego. Sasha Fierce is the alter ego of Beyonce, and she used that to get into persona. Bo Jackson does the same thing, and it's all talked about in the book. And so that's a trigger alter ego. It can be a trigger word or a phrase. Absolutely, these things are used all the time.
So these alter egos, it's almost like these people are acting, right? Like stepping into this different character,
right?
I mean, how important is that? Like, it's like playful, right? It's like, and I think just talking with you and kind of like following you on Instagram, like, you seem like a very playful person.
Totally.
Like, how has play kind of come into your life and helped you? Like, do you have an alter ego? Like, I'm really curious.
I do. It's my alter ego. I haven't quite decided. For a while, it was Hunter Thompson, and it's interesting because I think that's the alter ego of Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's kind of an alter ego for me right now.
Okay.
Because I love everything he's up. Talk about a podcast studio. I mean, that guy's got a ridiculous studio.
Yeah.
So for me, it's those people. I definitely have a Steve Jobs obsession as well.
Okay.
So maybe I need to get focused on one. But play is huge for me. I think I notice laughter opens people up. That's why I love improv and stand up, and it's literally a biological opening, and I think that it just makes everything fun, and everything doesn't have to be serious. I mean, we're all gonna die, so might as well enjoy ourselves.
Right. I know, and it could happen any second. I see. So over here, you got all the Muppets. Out here. Like, what goes on? Do you have people over and kind of put on Muppet shows?
No, not so much. I've been doing some videos with them.
Okay.
But I took them out just because I love them, and I can do all the voices, and I'll do it at a party sometimes where I'll take out one of the characters, and people love it. It's so fascinating because initially people are like, "This is so creepy. You guys got puppets," and then when they see them come to life, they're like, "Do another." And I really love doing it with kids because kids just eat it up, and so I think that's the non-creepy way. Or maybe that sounds creepy.
Hey, but kids are like the epitome of play.
Exactly.
Like, everything in life is something to be played with.
Exactly.
It's I don't know, it's something that I think a lot of kids lose as we grow up and become adults, right? Like, we lose our curiosity, we lose our playfulness.
Right.
But it seems like that's so important, to just be happy.
Totally.
In life.
Totally. That's the whole point.
How did you get into Muppets?
My brother and I just loved them as kids. We called the 976 Muppet Hotline. We watched Muppet Babies. We always watched the Muppet Show. To us, it was just, we freaking loved them, and I always have. And I thought that, like, I think they're the way I think about it is they're real life imaginary friends.
Okay.
And that's what Sesame Street showed when they did their studies. They found way more engagement of puppets with real people than just a puppet show or just a kids show. But when it was puppets combined with real people, the kids were fascinated.
Like, on stage, puppets and people on stage.
Or on sets or anything. If it's just puppets, it's all make-believe. If it's just people, it's all serious. But if you have puppets with people, it's like the imaginary world and the real world are coming together. That's what I love about it. It's like imaginary and real coming together. And there's that blue one, his name Carl, the life coach.
Carl.
And people
He's a life coach.
people have said he's kind of my id. I'll say things that are just things that I'm really thinking sometimes that I can't say. Will sometimes come out through Carl.
It's amazing. So Carl's your alter ego in a way.
He's one of them. Yeah.
That's fascinating. That's kind of a cool toolbox to have many alter egos.
Yeah.
Because then, depending on what situation you're in, you can kind of whip them out.
Totally.
And step into them.
Totally.
Huh. Wow. Interesting. So, man.
Yeah, I mean, it may be a wrap up point for us.
Well, I'm like processing. I still have questions. I still want to actually one of the biggest things that I'm interested and curious about with you and the XPill is like, where do you see this going? Like, what do you see XPill doing for people in the world and businesses? Yeah, what is this vision?
To me, it's like the alter ego of the XPill is the lightsaber. In the sense of lightsaber, it's huge within the Star Wars story, but it's not the story at all, right? Like it's just it's a tool, but it makes a Jedi.
Yeah.
So that's what I see XPill being, is that people using it in their ways, in their stories, and it's part of the story, but it's not the story. I see the story being people. Like my ultimate XPill commercial would be one like that was in the Super Bowl of the first woman coach who became the first woman football NFL coach. And I was just in tears at that one. That's an XPill commercial. I want to see many of those where it's just one part of the story. They had a dream. They took the XPill, but the rest is really all of them and what they achieved. Yeah. And so my model brand, my alter ego brand for XPill is Red Bull. Because Red Bull is doing so much for their athletes, for their performers. And Red Bull's in the background, like, hey, sipping Red Bull. But these are the athletes who are accomplishing big, huge things. And that's what I want the XPill to be for people and their life goals.
Wow. I feel like in today's age, right, where we have access to so much information and kind of different ways of living and thinking and doing and believing, like it almost seems like the XPill, it's like a very individualized, like you can literally be and do and create whatever it is you want in your life, right, for your life.
Exactly.
So it's like it's a mini lightsaber.
Yes.
So that's like, how will that change the world? Like, I look at the world today and I see people like fighting over beliefs, like fighting over just differences and misunderstandings with each other, like, and like part of me thinks like if we all had our own story and if we all understood that we were all creating our own stories, like would that kind of make people get along better?
I think so. I hope so. I mean, it's taking more responsibility, that's for sure. Yeah, you start to see
of our own lives.
Yeah, more responsibility, and also I've gotten a lot of those surrender takes. I find that people who take it for surrender are less triggered. You just kind of like let go of that desire to control everything. I think that's where a lot of conflict comes in, is trying to control what you can't necessarily control.
Yeah.
Well, this is fun, man. You're great. You're a great conversationalist. Great. I love your questions. Your curiosity is fantastic.
Well, and I mean, I have to say that your energy and sort of your like ability to hold space and kind of activate people. Whoa! Right when I said that, my ear just like went up. That's one of the biggest things that I think. Like for me, I get a lot of pressure in my head, and my ear pops and gets all weird.
Yeah.
Things like this kind of help, I don't know, clear that up.
That's
it's
cool.
Like weird. It's a biological, but it's also a very, like psychological process that's going on.
That's cool.
You know, one thing that I'm really curious, and I was reading in the book, you talk about this idea of following the string. What is that?
To me, it's there's always like it all comes back to the movie metaphor too. It's there's always just the next scene. We set these big, huge strategic plans and ideas and visions, which are great and they're really inspiring, but all we can really do is whatever the next thing is in front of us. And that's why something when you take the activation and you take the pill and you're like, man, I just really want to go to this event. And then you meet somebody at the event and that's when it starts, right? That's for me was following the string, doing the spin class. Like there was a dead end, but I was like, I know there's something there and I got this energy. And from that energy, I used it for other things. So it's about what is that string that looks like it's pulling you, that white rabbit, that next thing, as opposed to needing to figure out the whole plan.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very, I mean, to let yourself just go with that. It's almost like going with the flow in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like following your emotions.
Exactly.
Following that.
Right.
Just wherever your energy takes you.
Totally.
Kind of.
That's exactly it.
Huh. You know, that's kind of a big, I think that's challenging for a lot of people to kind of step outside the box and do something kind of extraordinary or different or unique. Like starting to be a spin instructor, what did people say?
Oh, that was crazy. I mean, what are you doing? You don't have a job, you're in debt. You're like, what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you think you were crazy? Like, did you have those moments where you're like, oh my God, what's going on?
No, because I was so depressed and down that the joy it was giving me just took all that noise out.
Mm.
So all those things didn't matter to me. Like now it probably would more because I've got a lot going, but then I didn't have a lot going for me. And so something that would just give me joy was very valuable.
Yeah. Mm. So it's almost like just being here, being now, being in the present moment. It brings joy, and that kind of kicks off into many different parts of life.
Exactly.
Hmm. So you're starting the XPill. Like, what do you want people to know about this pill? Like, where can they find out more information about it? Should they read anything? Should they start thinking about anything before they take it?
Oh, it's all there in the kit. The XPill kit is there at xpill.com, xpill.com. There's some videos there. I want to put the origin story video up there, but that's not up yet. It probably will by the time people hear this podcast. There's a lot of testimonials and stories. Mm-hmm. There's the Decider document I told you about that's free to help people make decisions.
Okay.
And yeah, and we're going to be doing more training. So, and we're just about to reduce the price of the kit to make it more affordable for people. Because I figure, like, why not just get it to more people? We're just sitting on the stock right now, and I'd like to get it out there more. So we're going to do a price reduction very soon.
Okay.
To below the 100. If you're hearing this and it's below 100 right now, we did the reduction.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that it's really, and to just notice, even if you don't get it, just think to yourself, if you had a pill for anything, what would it be? And imagine, like, you don't have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
But I get that it's scary. It's really scary for people because you're faced with whatever it is that's in the way of what you want.
Mm-hmm. And we got to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just go straight to the ending.
Or let it go.
Or
be like, that's why I said you don't have to take this. You just let go. There's no judgment. There's no pressure. That's what's big for me too. Is not judging people. Is saying, even if you don't want to do that, if you're scared, great. If you don't want to do it, great. Mm-hmm. If you feel confused, great. Whatever it is, great.
Yeah. Well, because I think people tend to think that they need to be like other people.
Yes.
Right? Especially with like social media and Instagram. It's like, oh my God, that person's traveling the world. That person's starting a business. I need to do that.
Yes.
I need to do that too.
Yes.
Or that person's having kids. Like,
right.
We have all these dreams, and like, but really, like, what? Actually, I was just about to say, like, what's your dream, right? But this idea that like, there's the real world and there's the dream world. Like, in your mind, like, how do you divide those two up? Like, which one? What is the dream world? Like, is the dream world like the imaginary, like,
I have no
vision?
idea. I have no idea.
Such a heavy
yeah, you're not gonna, above my pay grade. You're gonna have to go to Harvard or somewher else. You're not gonna get a good answer from me on that.
You're just like, take the damn thing.
Just like control what you can. Yeah.
Man, all right. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure, man. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a really good time. I feel like we're gonna have to do like a follow-up.
Yeah, please
all
do.
Your routines and productivity methods and all that good stuff.
And set a calendar item for the year, the episode you'll do in a year from now.
That's
with
right.
This goal, because your listeners are going to be wondering. They're going to be like, this is going to be coming up, so get that on the calendar.
Yeah, I'll keep them posted, and I'll see if other people want to join on this.
That's a good idea, really good idea. People hearing this right now, go ahead and respond. Where should they respond to you if they want to be part of the space? Yeah, if they want to be part of the space, Instagram is probably the main one right now. Well, what on Instagram? Communications. What was that? Where on Instagram? Yeah. To get in touch with me? Yeah. DM me. Slide in my DMs, people. But say it.
People,
At sign.
yeah, at the Substrand. At the Substrand.
There you go.
Yeah,
You heard it here, people.
And
Instagram,
what
at
is
the
your,
Substrand.
What is your Instagram handle?
Mine's Robbie Richman, at ROBBE, no I. ROBBERICHMAN.
Okay, great. And then are you on Twitter too?
I don't really do much on Twitter, so it's really just Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
What can people look out for in terms of like what else you're doing? Is there anything else exciting coming up?
I've got a culture course. I'm the Culture MBA. So for people, small businesses and medium size. Usually I talk to huge corporations, but this is going to be a course affordable for any size business to really master culture with the Culture MBA.
Mm-hmm.
So that's coming at my site, RobbertRichman.com. My corporate is Robert Richman, RICHMAN. Yes, and my book is The Culture Blueprint. So I'm developing the online course that's going to be available. And in either ones, I'm slowly going to be releasing more of my productivity stuff. That gets me juiced too about productivity. That's called the 48-hour day.
Okay, that's gonna be a book or the program.
Eventually
right?
will, but right now it's going. Actually, Damon, our mutual friend, helped me because I said I'm doing speaker training. I'm doing 48-hour day. I'm doing XPill. I'm doing culture. I'm all these things, and he said I need to focus. I want to focus, and he said, look, you're basically one of the number one culture experts in the world.
Yeah,
do that. And nobody else is really doing XPill. Do that. Mm-hmm. Everything else, make it fit some way in there. And I said, that's brilliant. So I'm not going to launch separate brands. I'm going to stop the speaker training and just focus on these two things, my culture work with companies and XPill.
I see. Well, sounds like a good plan. Sounds like you're clear.
Thank you.
On this. All right. Well, look forward to all this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the listeners do too. So
thank you. It's been an honor and pleasure.
Yeah. We'll be keeping in touch.
Cool.
Thanks, Robbie.
Mm-hmm.